Well, the good news is that we are discharging more people on daily basis here in Nigeria. That's kudos to our health professionals in Nigeria. Now, with this advent of this bad wind or evil wind, whatever you call it, comes a lot of things. One of them, and very critical, is a psychological problem. What is going on in the minds of people? Why are we seemingly rejecting, rules and regulation as to how to curtail this evil wind? Those will be our thrusts on today's edition of Conversation. My name is Elizabeth, and it's conversation, so I'm definitely not alone. Let me start. They say ladies first, after men. So permit me to introduce the man, Dr. Kashmir Wankwo. Dr. Kashmir Wankwo, I know you're a clinical psychologist, a developmental psychologist, a family psychologist. Do I also add a media psychologist? And we have a psychiatrist, of course, a well-known face on this show, Dr. Shaibu. Nice to have you again with us. All right. We'll be going on a break. Let's find out what Abuja people actually, did or are still doing during the lockdown. Did they comply? I don't know. Let's see.
Based on the advice of the Federal Ministry of Health and the NCDC, I am directing the cessation of all movements in Lagos and the FCT for an initial period of 14 days with effect from 11 p.m. on Monday, 30th March 2020.
At the instance of a president of a Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Buhari, two major cities, Abuja and Lagos, were locked down. A lot of people never really thought it would be possible. But to double-check on the level of compliance, Weekendale took a drive round Abuja. Here is what we saw. City Gate, Area 1, UTC, Nyanya Garage, Lugbe, This is the Nyanya Karo Road, quite known for heavy traffic. Today, the road is free. At the Maraba-Nyanya axis, the boundary spot of Nasarawa and Abuja, there were considerable movement given the fact that Nasarawa State is not under lockdown. However, there was heavy military presence and health checks of all persons coming into Abuja.
Hey, hold on. Let's see what we have. 39.3. So we want you to stop at this. We are going to stop it. So, you can come.
Caro Bridge had the same checks for essential workers coming into Abuja. The health workers insisted on full temperature checks for all pedestrians. The popular banking arena in Area 3 was more like a ghost town. Abuja residents complied except for essential workers. The law enforcement agents were fully on ground to ensure implementation. Much as the people obeyed, do they all believe the COVID-19 is real?
You wanna lie, COVID no do anything, they. Now hungry the warriors, tell them. Say COVID no day. Now hungry day, no be COVID.
Are you serious?
You because COVID there, I know some hunger day.
What a shame. Take it or leave it. Coronavirus is real. Stay home, stay safe. I love the resilience of my people, our Nigerian people, but we should not carry it too far. We should, much as we're trying to be strong, I think we should still open our eyes, open our minds and understand that what is. There's no, COVID is real. Doctor.
You see, when we talk about this COVID-19, it's real. But the question is the information dissemination. Nigerians, we are used to being lied to about a lot of things. And psychologically, we have prepared ourselves for everything that is coming from there need to be questioned. Even when we are looking at the real facts, we still don't believe. Okay? Even if that is a case we are looking at here, something in us will still tell us, make we check and well, you should say something, no enter. That is that Nigerian factor. We didn't choose to be so. A lot of things have happened over time that made us to be so. So, trying to talk about this COVID-19 and making sure people know what it is, we need to go back to the drawing board. Going back to the drawing board means we need to talk about it, okay, that is my look. COVID-19 is more or less a way for the Nigerians, especially the elites, the political power, the political, leaders, the elites and some of us to go back and more like a second chance to amend our ways, to tell the country, to tell the world, at least let's start afresh. The kind of information we get from this COVID-19 and the kind of information we're seeing on screen and the word is social media, basically we can't fight, we can't stop fake news, but we can manage it.
Definitely.
How can we manage it? By being very sincere with the ones we are rolling out. We make sure it is very, very, very verifiable. And you're working with evidences that we can see. Then Nigerians will start to believe. As far as Nigerians are concerned, everything is a lie.
A lot of things are coming up, at this moment. People are sitting down at home. In fact, I've had more than one person calling me to tell me if this thing does not end, this lockdown does not end, I will die before COVID-19 kills me. I have had such calls. I am bored. I am this, I am that. And it sets me thinking, what should we do to readjust the minds of people? Look at what happened in Abuja a couple of days back. Someone killed himself because he's lonely and bored and all that. A woman stabbed her husband to death because they were fighting over food. And like joke, it's all here in the papers. In Kenya, a man killed himself and wrote that he cannot isolate himself. That it's for him it's worse than dying. People are taking their lives. Doctor, you're a psychiatrist. I need you to speak on that. What should be in the minds of people as we either self-isolate or get quarantined? What should be our mindset like? How do we get to, put joy in our minds?
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Like I always say, mental health is a very important aspect of health that unfortunately is being overlooked. Like we always say, there's no health without mental health. I will just give a bit of a background. If someone is diabetic, you need to work on the person's mental health to help him manage his physical illness. So someone has to come to terms with the fact that I'm going to live with a lifelong or a chronic condition. So the person needs to be psychologically, prepared for the fact that I'm likely going to be on medication for life. So that, COVID-19 not being different, I ask, how much of the psychological aspect are we looking at? Psychosocial support is a major aspect of management of COVID-19. Okay, we focus on the fact that, is a viral infection. It affects the respiratory system. But the thought and the fear and the apprehension that comes with knowing that you or a loved one is exposed to COVID-19.
Look at somebody that ran away from isolation center.
Exactly.
Because of,
It's just the fear, the stigma, So before the complications come in, you've probably died from the psychological impact. Because I have people, someone called me and says, "Oh, doctor, are you still working? Is psychological service an essential service?" So it just tells you
Imagine
how
that.
people see mental health. And I said, now more than ever is when we have
The need
most
for it.
cases. Yeah, but because again, we're able to manage a lot of our conversations, a lot of our patients, we're able to filter and say, okay, we can do telemedicine. We can see you electronically. Of course, then it depends on your case. Then we know if you need to come in observing all the precautions. Yes, we have people that have been indoors since everything started, but are still worried sick that they might have been exposed.
You know, these days they say you don't, even if you're frying and you get choked, please swallow the choke.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't
You can't
sneeze.
sneeze, you can't
That
cough.
is the fear.
You don't
You
sneeze
understand?
because you're scared.
It's fear. And the biggest problem in anxiety is fear. The biggest enemy we have is fear. And what is fear? It's either negative or positive. Forget everything and run, or face everything and stand. Do you understand? Now, the psychologists, the mental health practitioners, we choose to face everything and stand. Now, we're talking about COVID. Nobody's interested to know actually, is it fine, is a viral, is an infection, virus, but is it airborne? No. Nobody's interested in that. How do you transmit it? Droplets and this on this particular place. Before it's guy and shift to that side. That fear already, you are dying before the real death. Why? The relegation of mental practice and mental well-being. Like the NDC, the National NCDC, they are doing great. Our doctors are doing great. Our scientists are doing great. You can do what you can do, but there are certain things you can do. Just like doctor said, who is there to prepare you for this? Who is there to tell you this is what exactly it is?
Now, I really want to know, assuming a member of my family has a travel history, probably is not showing signs, but because he's a good Nigerian and he decides to self-isolate, probably in the same house, even though I've heard some people who say, I don't want to, transmit to my family members, they go to a hotel and pay for 2 weeks and do self-isolation in the hotel. Now, if I decide to do it within my home, what should be the manner of relationship between families, because a whole lot of stories have come in. Somebody said that, I was listening to, is it Beverly or something? She said that the worst part is she cannot see her children. Food is passed through to her from a hole. She now feels like
a little prisoner.
Yes, in your own home. She only gets to see sunlight through the window. She can't wait for this to be over. She was lamenting and I saw it. I'm wondering, what should be the relationship so that you don't get to kill the person psychologically before the COVID-19 kills him or her? Okay, yes. Isolation in the house, the recommendation is you stay in a room that has a door that can be locked. Right, so you need to, this is all part of psychological support. So you need to let family and even children, understand that, okay, mommy or daddy or auntie, just traveled. Give them age-appropriate information. For this period of time, XYZ, mom, dad, uncle, brother, needs to be alone, just to keep us safe. So you don't need to pass food through a hole. You can open the door, drop the tray by the door, because the idea is to maintain that social distance. So the person is in a room alone. So no hugs, no, and all that. So the idea is the person doesn't come out to the room to sit down and watch TV, with the rest of the people. I mean, I can actually open that door. Oh yeah, you can. And see people, move around in the house. I don't need to go out.
See, now, why are we talking about physical distance and social distance? We asked to do that because there are chances when you're like, we are very close, I might sneeze.
Yes, and the droplets.
Or there might be droplets already in my hand or in my clothes. So via hugging, I can get them, and without knowing, I just touch my face. That is the reason for the physical distance we're talking about here. But people are scared because of, again, lack of information dissemination. As the information is wrong. If you watch, the real information is not heard. But, okay, when this thing started, I had to go to Anambra State. I drove from Anambra State. When I was coming, when I was leaving Anambra for this place, some of the people, when I was leaving, my office was like, oh boy, we have already prepared the room for you when you go to Abuja and come back. I just looked at them, I smiled.
They already gave you a room.
They already prepared, more like, in the olden days, they said they mark somebody for death, like they want to, sacrifice you to the gods. So you already, if not, I know what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, where I'm coming from, and I'm mentally prepared for it. As I was living, I've already told myself,
just prepare.
You understand? So you look at that. So that is why a lot of people are going to lie about their status.
Yes. Because we had a case in Kwara State.
That's stigmatization.
We had a case in
Do you think
University of
someone
Benin?
that is highly placed like that, with that level of education, will do that? That is something that, I keep saying, education and literacy are two different things.
Education and literacy, yes.
Education and literacy are two different things. You can have all the degrees in the world, but might not be as educated as people expect you to be.
Very fast.
And then our culture plays a very vital role. There are still some things that we have a culture of being secretive.
Yes.
And again, why are we usually secretive? Stigma. We don't want to be the ones that are labeled that, oh, their family had COVID-19. Big deal.
Somebody has actually told me that if you finish with the sickness, it doesn't ever go away from your body. That for life, you will have the, damage within you.
What damage? For
I don't know.
For a virus that is novel, for a virus that there's still so much we don't know. So you see, we can choose to hold on to positive information or negative information. And that's what, I don't know if anyone saw the little video clip by Emirates. I think that's one of the sweetest, positive thing I've seen. Because it talked about COVID-19 as a thing of the past. It said things like, do you remember when we couldn't go out? Do you remember when we're all forced to stay indoors? Do we remember when traveling was like a luxury? And, it says that will be how we'll be talking soon. So I think that's something positive because you're already seeing an end to it.
Yes.
As opposed to holding on to something that is not even verified, and you're saying it will leave a lasting damage. Okay, let's even assume it leaves a lasting damage. Is it going to be the first illness that is chronic? We've been living with diabetes and hypertension for ages.
HIV came.
HIV came.
Some people are telling us now that they prefer HIV/AIDS.
Mental illness.
Somebody told me it's better I have HIV/AIDS than to have COVID.
And because of the mystery that is, that is around COVID-19, and because we're experiencing a world we never thought we would experience. The world has totally changed. I never thought there would be a time that the whole world at the same time will come to a standstill. But then again, you sit down and you tell people, when we're speaking, with people around me, patients, family, friends, I said, do you know what? Do you ever see it this way, that God just decided to say, you know what? The hustle and bustle is too much. I just need the whole world to slow down and focus on things that are important.
Which is a family. Now,
talking about basic things,
Looking at this, I'm not seeing this COVID-19 as a problem.
See,
I'm looking beyond
COVID-19.
This is an advantage. Bringing it down to family. Most of us, quote and unquote, are married. We have families. We need to provide for them. Most of us don't spend more than 10 hours in our houses.
Do we even spend up to 10 hours?
Look, do you know what I use that? I want to calculate. I'm trying to calculate
sleep time.
6,
Okay,
10,
sleep
8 hours sleep time. Many of us don't know where a lot of things are in the houses we built. Most of us don't know what our wives look like. Most of us don't have.
Are you kidding me? You don't know what your wife
No,
looks like?
I'm
Without makeup.
I don't, I'm telling you. Okay, you see, You know, I'm a family counselor, okay? Somebody called me and said, Doc, you know, say this man, no even remember as we carried the one before. What will you say about that? You now see that most men, to them,
Provide
this is,
financially.
for lack of a more proper word, this is a punishment, staying home. You have kids, you don't know how to interact with your kids. You don't know that kids 2 to 5 shout, break things, turn things upside down. This is a time for our men to start appreciating the work of women in the homes. Do you understand? This is the time for us to know that it's not about the money.
That's right.
It's about the comfort. How many of us can stand up and say, the glass jar in the left locker upstairs is where the salt is? But we buy those things. We trip those things in the house. How many of us really know how many weeks it takes for a gas to run out and get another cylinder? Now, we don't have a family because we are chasing a society and we want to have a wonderful society. Who is going to tell my kids the truth when I'm not there to tell them the difference between what mommy says, what the teacher says, and what dad is going to say about it? You're coming in by 8 in the night or by 9 in the night, then as you're having your dinner, you're already dozing off. The next, the poor woman don't want to be a widow. Just come to your daddy is sleeping. 5 a.m. before the morning devotion. See you guys. They go for holidays. So how many of us are really slowing down the way nature wants us to slow down and go back to our family, start afresh, build a new home, build a new family, and bring out a better society? Zero.
All right, I quite appreciate this which you're saying, because the truth is that we're losing it when it comes to the family. But I still want to go back to the fact that even when the family is bonded, the increase in domestic violence is something else about this period. There are a lot of families, fighting. There are a lot of husband and wives
having issues. Why is that? Because there was no marriage, there was no family, there was no relationship from the beginning. Take 2 steps down or back. Let's look back a little. Most of us married young girls we met due to we are of marriageable age. There was no relationship. There was no courtship. What is actually courtship here? You're talking about knowing the woman you want to live the rest of your life with. It's not knowing the genotype, it's not knowing the blood group, it's not knowing how this or that. What actually do you know about her? Do you know her do's and don'ts? Not the ones she say, the ones you need to know. Because one thing about this is you don't listen to what people say and get it right. You listen to their hearts. They speak with their heart. They speak with their eyes. One thing that don't lie is your pupil. Once you get that straight, you can know who your wife is, or your wife can know who the husband is, and then you know the kind of kids you want to raise. Going back to that again, Nigeria is this, I call it a daily economy country. Let me use that word, because 85-90% of Nigerians make daily every day. If they don't step out, it is a zero. Those people that are all this domestic violence due to finance,
it's a lot of things.
It's a big problem. Why is it a big problem? There has never been an understanding. There's always been a kind of business. I go come out, I go bring and come, gives you, they go my own. Once your happiness is now at home, once there is a lockdown, you say, God, come and take me now. That is the best. Because you don't even know where you are. You don't even know your home. And you say you're married, and you say you're responsible. Why am I bringing this back home? Because every information we get outside needs to be processed at home. And for the fact you don't have a good home, the society, I'm sorry.
All right, Doctor, I'll hold you on that, and you as well, because I need to take a feature on fear. Because a lot of things we do
stem from fear.
It comes in from fear. A lot of us are scared. We're scared of COVID-19. We're scared of tomorrow. We're scared of We're even scared of today. Sometimes we're even scared of our shadow. So let's take this little bit on fear. When we come back, we have a doctor speak on it.
Are you scared yet? They say this thing, it kills your immune system, attacks your lungs, makes it hard to breathe, and it's spreading. Spreading like wildfire, causing havoc. Your friends and family are gonna get it, if they don't already have it. It's tragic, I tell you, madness. Scientists say old people get it worse, but most get it eventually. They say this is new, but no. This has been around for centuries. Look at history, it's just a different name, a different strain. And now there's no way to contain it. It infects the rich, poor, young, old, the unknown, the famous. It's dangerous. Everyone's on edge, locked inside of their homes nervously. Borders are closed, countries declare state of emergencies. Grocery stores are empty, nobody's praying in church. The world has gone to crap. No wonder toilet paper sold out first. The stock market crashed, thousands laid off work. Hand sanitizer is going for $1 million a squirt. You better not sneeze, cause no one's gonna say God bless you. They might even arrest you. I don't mean to stress you, but washing your hands obsessively in the restroom will not protect you. Friends, I'm not talking about coronavirus. Now this is a virus even more deadly. The F virus. You've seen it. It spreads every minute like an epidemic. It lives on surfaces, most commonly remote controls, TV screens, cellular phones. It makes you desperate. Doctors say every time you scroll down your feed, you get reinfected. It invades the brain, and when it mutates, it turns into hatred and blame. China did it, no Italy did, no Iran, no Spain. Oh, I didn't make it clear? The F virus, ladies and gentlemen, is fear. But don't be afraid. Despite what you hear or see on your TV, there is good news during this tragedy. To fight loneliness, people are performing concerts on their balconies. The UAE sent aid to Iran. Japan donated supplies to China for free. Written on them was a poem that said, "We are waves from the same sea." Listen to me, like every tragedy, we can let this destroy us, or we can use it to our benefit and repair relationships with our sisters and brothers, wipe away silly grudges, because when it's all said and done, all we ever really had in this world was each other. So yes, let's flatten the curve and expand our hearts. Let's social distance, boost our immune systems, be mindful of where we put our hands, but also where we put our attention. Be alert, not fearful, because the F virus is a pandemic easily transmitted. If you do contract it or exhibit symptoms, we recommend immediately dialing the hotline of a level-headed friend. If you are exposed through your TV, change the dang station. Decontaminate yourself through dance, laughter, and meditation. 2020 has been morbid. From Kobe to COVID, may we use these tragic moments to finally wake up to what's important. Right now, tell someone that you care for them. Yes, right now, tell them that you cherish them. If they are not in the same room, ring them up and tell them you will always be there for them. Because together is how we will rise above. The only vaccine for this F virus and every other virus is love.
Thank Prince EA for that lovely bit, and I know that he spoke it all. What we can actually do is love ourselves, and he said we should tell each other, I care about you, so I care about you. And then, doctor, I need you to speak on how to manage fear, because every one of us has that disease. It's a big-time virus. What do we do, especially about now? How do we manage fear? Some of us wake up early in the morning. The first thing we do is to check our phones. Who has died? How many people have contracted this thing? You know, has it reached my domain? Has it reached my community? It's stemming out of fear. What can we do to curb it?
Okay, I like two things, he said. And I will relate that to what, Doc said. He mentioned at the point that the F virus has been there for very long. And that takes us to the coping mechanism. So you can decide to see COVID as a death sentence. And you can decide, or you can decide to see it as a lesson. He said he saw it as a good thing. And if you remember, I said that's coping mechanism. So you can decide to channel your thoughts. Okay, am I seeing it as an opportunity to just slow down and stay home? And while I'm doing that, I'm protecting someone else by not going out, right? And I can decide to see it as the end of the world. Looking at the case of the girl that committed suicide, saying that she felt the world had come to an end. So if the world had come to an end, she decided to end the world, her own world, before it ended. But that's not because she's weak. That's because she couldn't cope. And that's what mental health is about. When people commit suicide, it's not because they're weak. It's not because they're cowards. It's because they're unable to cope like other people. So with COVID, it's going to come with a lot of things. People that didn't know they were genetically predisposed to mental illnesses will come down, will break down. People that already had mental illnesses, it might be worsened. Right. And in terms of the family structure, like he said, it's two-pronged. There are some people that the fact that they're able to go out is what has kept their homes sane, is what has kept their marriages working. Because if my partner gets on my nerves, I'm able to just take a drive out to avoid strangling the other person. But now I'm forced to, stay indoors with this person. Right. So that's what is going to, that's what is responsible for the increase in domestic violence, fights, quarrels. On the contrary, for some, it's a bonding opportunity. Yes. So it's not A or B. In terms of coping mechanism, let's look at it. He said, at the end of the day, what we have is each other. And he said, yes. He said, if you don't like your TV, change the damn channel. And he says, if you feel you're unable to cope, dial the hotline of a reliable friend. Good. So I have a friend.
I actually like that beat. Level-headed friends.
Level-headed friends. Because there's someone that you may call that will worsen, that will feed into your fear.
There are people who are just alarmists.
Yeah, exactly.
There are people who are just natural.
How? Your own is better. My neighbor just...
How do you know who actually is a good friend?
Good. Doc, please let me just hold you on that. And that is why exactly you have to be careful, who you speak to. Because sometimes it might even be my spouse, it might be my mother, it might be my brother or my sister that is feeding my anxiety. Right. So talking of that hotline, are we able to have... I like what, NCDC is doing, and they say, okay, there are hotlines that you can call if you think there's someone who might be exposed, or if you think you need to get tested. Where is the mental or psychological helpline? Where is the helpline that I can call to say, I think I'm losing it? I can't go out. I think I'm losing it. Can I talk to someone? And that's exactly what we're talking about, wellness. Wellness is not for that person who is ill, who everyone can see that is ill, is unable to cope. Wellness is about taking care of you and I, who are seemingly functional. It's long overdue. Do you understand? We need to have a national psychological helpline where I pick up the phone.
Report someone who you think is...
You don't even have to... exactly. A loved one or myself. And I'm like, please, we need help.
With this...
And the person at the end of the line is a qualified mental health practitioner. It's not just someone who is talking arbitrarily. Someone that is using evidence-based medicine to help you and support you. And if after the assessment, I see that, it's beyond wellness, this person has tilted into illness, I signpost. Where do you live, ma'am? Where do you live, sir? Okay, the nearest place you can actually go for help is, I would recommend you.
Or you can even call I don't know if it will be ambulance this time.
Well, yeah, you know,
And,
considering this, you know,
yes, that
and
this
look at
person
it.
might just be going off.
Exactly.
anytime.
And it goes beyond COVID.
Yes.
It goes beyond COVID because once you have a helpline, it goes beyond COVID because it continues. Okay, I have someone who just wakes up in the middle of the night and is talking to someone, and I don't even understand what it is. I pick up my phone, I call the helpline, I don't understand what's happening. My husband or my wife or my sister is talking to him or herself. What is that? Is it a spiritual attack? I ask you a few questions and I say, okay, is the person able to talk to me? No, the person is not even, it seems like he's in a world of his own and all that, because I'm a practitioner, I'm already formulating a diagnosis. And then I can say, okay, what's your location? Oh, I'm in Ondo State. Oh, okay. Or I'm in Ogun State. Okay, where in Ogun State? You can actually, are you able to get the person in the car and take this person for an assessment? You have managed a potentially hazardous situation. Drugs. You can use that helpline for drugs. So it's beyond, I think it's an opportunity for us to look at things differently, globally.
Dr. Wankwo, I need you to help us a little bit, because I think one of the things that actually cause the mental issues for people who are locked up in a home for any reason is because of lack of what to do. Now, what can they do on their own as coping mechanisms? What activities should couples, should families, should children, should even single people engage in to ensure that they don't get mentally, worked up to a point that they begin to think of suicide?
Okay, looking at it, thank you very much. If we look at this thing from this angle, there are a lot of mental stimulating functions you can do with your family. You can play games. You can do a lot of catch-ups with your family, with your kids. You can do a lot of catch-up with your wife. You see why this thing seems like it's this complex is because so many of us have a very complex background that has to do with this same fear and trust. So when you're locked up with somebody you don't really know how to approach, how do you start a conversation? How do you
Hello, can I know you better?
You toasted the person again. You toasted again.
You are talking about somebody you've lived like half a decade with or more. Do you understand? How do you manage it? A lot of people are living in houses as couples, but they're actually
co-tenants. They're just cohabiting.
So, where do you want to start from? You see, all we need to do is to tell ourselves the basic truth, which is, this is my strength. My strength is from here to this place. I need somebody to come in from here. When I'm talking about living together, I'm not talking about anger management.
Anger management.
You talk about letting go of a lot of pains. We have a lot of backlog of pain to be carrying. Some people run away from home, run away from their houses because of certain things they can't face.
That's right.
Like you talked about somebody who committed suicide. He or she didn't commit this suicide because of COVID. He committed this suicide because
it didn't just over time. There have been a lot of
having
locked boxes.
He or she had felt neglected, rejected, not accepted. The only way he lives is by seeing the wind blow through his face in the park and asking him to come into
that
a
space,
closed space where the person has initially rejected his or herself first, because you need to first of all accept yourself before people can accept you. That's why you need
self-love,
mental health specialist to tell you that whatever it is, you are still the best.
Affirmation.
Do you understand? Now, we need to go back to the stand, just like Doug said. The helpline. NCDC is doing great. Who is talking to you? How will they talk to you? And don't forget that this from the little information I gathered, because we have a group of psychologists that were scattered around
here.
Like I left Abuja, I went to Anambra to pick data on this. I've seen their reaction. I see what they do. I see how they act. Do you understand? I still see some of them will tell that one of them, okay, somebody tells me, Doc, nervous. COVID, what you call it? 19. Now for rich people now, where poor man, where you see the thing don't affect. But no, you want them to say, una.
Okay, the COVID is now for una.
A lot of people don't call their families in Abuja. If they are calling, they'll put it on speaker, believing that as you're
speaking, might transmit from the phone. Really?
What are we talking about?
If COVID is associated with 5G,
you now see, because we don't actually know.
Lack of information.
And we don't really know who is going to hold on to us and tell us this is who we really are. We mix up everything and make news for ourselves, making it almost impossible, extremely difficult and almost impossible to come together to find a solution to ourselves, to being together, to finding something to do. When you can't talk to your child, you can't talk to your fiancé because you don't really have a topic to talk about. You can't even go back and bring out the old pictures and say, hey, remember that first day I caught you on that bridge and it was raining, I was trying to give you a lift and you're doing now can you see? We don't even have that history. We don't even know where to start the conversation. Why would I tell my wife, hey, excuse me, can I meet you? Yes, my name is Okeko Kafo because I've not met you before.
And that's where you're married for like 10 years.
And the kids are looking at you. I know why I'm very particular about family. When we moved to industrial or social, which is another aspect of wonderful psychology, because this thing broke down the economy. And when we talk about the common economy now, we talk about the entire environment. The industries broke down. A lot of people had their friends, their family in their work. Those things they couldn't get from home, they get them again. You see people run to work, 6 a.m., they're off. And once it's 5, they say, oh, today is very early. They dread weekends. They are married. You see them bond with their colleagues, not because they have any intimate affair, but because these are people who can take time and listen to them, say everything, and politely, with love, tell them, sweetheart, you're wrong. And not, now your way, not be your mate, be this. You see, the COVID that Nigeria is suffering is our personal relationship with us. We have to cut across the intertribal relationship. This is a time for the whole medical and health workers. Is it environmental health? Is it social worker? We need to come together. It's time for the mental health specialists, the psychologists. Okay, let them just allow them see what they can do.
There's a whole lot to be done.
There's a whole lot. There's a major part of this.
Every person
major part
can be an advisor. Every person can be a counselor. Do you know how to choose the right ones?
And advice is different from counseling.
You understand? Now, taking it back, like the distorted state we're talking about. The next thing, hey, they don't come. I bind you and I cast you.
Yeah.
What are you binding? What are you casting? There is a mental issue. Manage it. Look at it.
It's not spiritual.
Know
It's not
what
spiritual.
the fear is all about. Instead of calling a professional, you're calling one of your
pastor
or imam or something. What has it got to do?
All right, so before we leave, I would like to know, I know some time ago you tried to teach me
relaxation techniques,
how to
breathing
cope
exercise.
with fear. When I have breathing exercises,
Breathing exercise.
I need you to run that by me again so that every other person can learn it. You know,
Okay.
because that fear will come, it's a must.
Yeah.
whether with COVID-19 or with any other thing. We have other diseases coming up. So generally, how do you, remove that fear temporarily from you?
Temporarily. And I like the fact that you said temporarily, because it's a self-help technique when you feel overwhelmed, And I give a background again. I say, we have the central nervous system is what controls the whole body, and that is the mental part of health that we're talking about. So like I mentioned, we have sympathetic and we have parasympathetic. Sympathetic is where fear comes from, because it's responsible for the flight, fright, and fight.
That's the FFF.
FFF.
Okay.
And you see fear comes from there. So when you're fearful, what happens? You either fly, you want to run away, or you want to fight, or, you're afraid. That's fear. So what do you do to counteract that? You try to activate the parasympathetic. So that's what calms down that. And the fastest and easiest way to do that is breathing, because it relaxes everything. Because when the sympathetic is activated, what happens? Blood pressure elevates, respiratory rates. That's why you find people panting when they're afraid. Okay. So when you practice this deep breathing, it actually slows everything down. Okay, sure. And what we tell people to do is you breathe in, you count mentally 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. And you breathe out through your nose, not through the mouth. Not through the mouth. Because it's slower when it's coming out through the nose. And you repeat that like 5 times, at a sitting.
I actually feel a bit of
relief. So you actually feel like instant relaxation. And good. And that's what we teach people, even for meditation and all that. And now there are even apps on your phone that you can download that actually help you to tell you breathe in, and it's counting. When it reaches the end, that's the point where you breathe out. And it's found over time to even help sleep, helps you relax, manages, anxiety and all that. But of course, there are people that, despite this, they find out that it's not helping, because there are different degrees, of anxiety.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been amazing having 2 of you on set. I wish I had more time, but they are actually beating me to, round up for the next item on the rundown for today. It's been amazing. I must say that I've learned, as usual from both of you. You told me I should look at COVID-19 with positivity. A lot of things that can happen for the family, and a lot of things that can happen for a lot of people. Thank you for that. You've also made us understand that we can cope with our fear. It's all in the mindset. Thank you so much. And generally, I want to add, Nigerians, I was coming to work and I saw something I was not happy about it. A lot of people have taken to jogging, exercising, road work for the activities for the lockdown. It's quite commendable, but please maintain social distancing. It's important. I saw like 20, 30, 50 people doing group aerobics, and that's when you're even going to perspire and breathe in and breathe out more. And at the end of the day, the lockdown would have not been worth it. Let's observe social distancing. Remember that the numbers must not go up. The numbers must come down. Yeah. I always say that the green bar is where we belong, and that's those people who have healed and been discharged. My name is Elizabeth, and the program is Conversation. We'll be with you again some other time. Don't forget, your life is in your hand, and your health is in your hand. Bye-bye.